What is going on, everyone? Astrologer Eric Rosen here, and welcome to Celestial Conversations from Chaos to Clarity. This is the astrology that's coming up for the week. This is where we talk about the uncertainty, the chaos, how to rise above it. Although we're probably getting used to it feeling just like it is chaos and uncertainty in the world, but that can almost desensitize us to it and just kind of put us on the sidelines and like we're waiting for something, waiting for a hero to come. That's not what this time is. That's not what this time has been. This is about initiating your next phase of your quantum legacy, you could call it. Like where you're putting your attention, your energy, it matters very deeply. This is a time to be taking your thoughts and ideas and that you thought were more in the future and actually see how you can actually make them real and build them now. Before I get into the specifics of what's coming up this week, if you do want to get an astrology reading to find out how to do just those things, how to actually construct your reality, whether you've got a business you're trying to build, you got a creative project you're trying to get off the ground, most people have something that they want to align with. It's Libra season. It's like get into alignment, take it to the quantum level, muse with it, meditate with it. But if you need some help getting unstuck and building some of those innovative structures in life, of course, the astrology reading, there's the private coaching work that I do, the 3 and 6 month containers. And then there's still an opportunity if people want to jump in late to the Higher Self Rising group coaching program. That is an opportunity as well. It all just really depends on your fancy. So talking about this week. So it's really interesting because this is going to be a little bit more of a quiet week in the astrology. It's a little bit more of the fallout. It's the other side of the major transits that we've been going through, right? We've been going through the eclipses. We're on the other side of it now. As I'm doing this, like we're at the peak energy of this grand air trine with the sun that just came into Libra, to Pluto retrograde in Aquarius and Uranus retrograde in Gemini. And so trines are very peaceful, and so it can be peaceful very much for the mind, with them being all air signs. But we can get that peace that we search for and try to illuminate in Libra, but it's in a quantum spiritual plane of things because it's dealing with Pluto and Uranus. It's kind of like having like quantum levels of solace, of peace, of actually appreciation. But then also at the same time, it's kind of like, you know, our thoughts can maybe run a little bit wild and can get a little out there. And so we have to still come back into the earth-based reality of it and like make decisions that are actually in alignment with like good character and good moral values and what it is that we feel that we're wanting to do during this time. Now that sun was opposing Neptune, it is coming off of that. So it is a reminder, it's like you've got to kind of like rise into the heavens and take flight and be your own hero. Like there's very much a spiritual component like to this. Like it's not going to be the perfect system. It's South Node in Virgo, just had the solar eclipse in Virgo. Like reaching out here into the physical reality, trying to force an outcome, get a certain way of like, especially perfection. And it can even be the illusion that we're not asking for perfection, but we are. It's just we're asking for a little bit to just like keep the reality like going and like fixing in patchwork. And it's like that's a playing small version. It's North Node of Pisces. It's more about the boundless nature of it. And so I think that we have to remember that this is the time where, you know, when you look at this astrology, it's like, yes, South Node in Virgo, the quality of our thoughts matters. Like make sure you're not getting critical, especially with Venus in Virgo. Like she can get really critical around self-worth and money and projects like really quick. Thank God she's not conjunct with the South Node yet, but maybe it would have been better this week because, you know, when she does get closer, we're going to see Neptune come back actually into Pisces here at the beginning of next month. And even though Venus won't directly oppose it, there is that kind of oppositional front of trying to balance the physical nature of like what we're doing, but also like the spiritual self and kind of be like, whoa, how did I get back here? Like, how did I end up in this like for some, it could feel like creepy Pisces zone again, where it's like the illusion and just like what's real, what's not real, especially on Saturn, where it's trying to like get into the decision-making mode of like what's actually like spiritual and in integrity versus like what is just like some like really weird karmic pattern of like poor cyclical decision making to keep like doing over and over again. And so this is a time to like really pay attention to our energetic hygiene. Like when you lift the vibe up, when you lift and inspire yourself, you do inspired work and it plugs into the quantum field of things. So it's like making decisions and doing what can actually be done in terms of like, what do we actually have access to, whether it's like the phone, people, technology. It's like, it's really going into these directions that are not so much like outcome driven, but more inspired and intuitive in the moment. And I think that's where good things can happen. And that there are solutions, like, but where it gets hard for people is like trying to do the same routine over and over again. So we have to find solutions by trying new things. It's the experimentation, it's going through the uncertainties. But when we lift our vibration up and we feel inspired, we know what that aligned decision and next action is. And there's like a deep surrender and acceptance to that, to go with that. And the more that we reinforce that as like the new spiritual pattern and the new reality, and that's the new system, it's keeping the vibe up. Now, it is Saturn at the end of Pisces with the North Node, even though they're not conjunct. And so this still does bring up the heavier stuff of Pisces, where it's like, you know, feel like the deep well of emotions, like go in, iron out the wrinkles and feel the grief, feel what needs to be felt. Like, it's not about faking it for sure. You know, it's not the spiritual bypass of just like love and light, high vibes only. But I think that when we honor, like when the body's feeling depleted or we're feeling spiritually depleted, it's just an opportunity to drop back in and be like, what am I missing here? Where's my flow? Where's my soul? Like, what is the thing? But if we're up here trying to figure it out, puzzle it together, we miss that. And then we're kind of like fighting with one hand behind our back. And we don't want to be fighting during this astrology right now. We want to find peace. We want to find alignment. We want to find diplomatic communication and problem solving and having broadcasting conversations like right now that's more like to get people like thinking about things. And so here it's kind of like take whatever thing that you feel inspired by, you know, creative project, you know, a business, something like that, and just start with feeling in and relaxing into the belief with Jupiter in Cancer that's like, you know, I know there's a solution here. Like, I know that there's a way through this. And I think that's where good things can start to happen. So, you know, we are seeing also that Mars in Scorpio square Pluto in Aquarius, and like this grand air trine and the square, like this is all to start the week. So that's why most of this week it's more like the fallout of it. It can be a really empowered frequency, like Mars and Pluto, which, you know, are both technically rulers of Scorpio. And so the fact that they're squaring each other, I think that it can be a really empowered frequency. But if we're too hungry to connect with a certain person, you know, a certain money situation, like needing to bond with the person, a certain outcome, just like all these, whatever, just different ways that can get too obsessive. And then it's almost like the moment that we're thinking about something that actually we haven't like really considered, like, wait, is this really a part of my values? Is this really like connected to something that's gonna give me passion and actually like lift me up, and like to lift me up to find solutions, to actually like go deep into the well of emotions and the well of deeper psychological understanding of like, why do I get stuck on that thing? Why do I obsess with that thing? Why do I want that think so much. It's like using the energy to like break free of that, as opposed to like letting the mind run for too long, for more than really 17 seconds, and being like, well, you know, the die has already been cast. I'm already thinking about it, so I'm just going to roll with it. Like, this is a lot about pattern interruption that's like deeply psychological, that is like going like, hey, that's actually a waste of time. Like, that actually is not going to yield an ROI. That is not part of the future of where things are going. That's not a part of being connected in the world and society. So in a lot of ways, you kind of look at that square as like an addiction breaker, kind of like, you know, because the North Node of Pisces and Neptune at the beginning of Aries is kind of saying like, we fall very weak if we get attached and like addicted to something. Like, we have to find a way to keep seeing that there is no like true ceiling. There's no like limit in terms of like what we can just like work to accomplish right now. But it's like the work is more in the inspiration of the quantum energy that we're putting into things. This is like very long term. This is very, you know, you could say sort of project oriented, in terms of just like the understanding that we still have time to whistle while we work, and just like do the stuff that is honoring the stuff that we started on with these outer planetary shifts and transits in their new signs, but then knowing that they're going back, but it's like there's still time. Uranus and Neptune have not retrograded back into their previous signs. And so it's taking this like wisdom and understanding that we all have a capacity to tap into a quantum field. Now, the problem is that most of the world frequency is like trying so hard to get into this like non-diplomatic context and unrootedness and fear. And so the challenge is to be able to like bring the frequency in and lift our vibration up, and actually be mindful and aware of our thoughts, actually stay there. Now, where it gets easier though than trying to keep the toddler from changing the channel that doesn't know any better, which is our monkey mind, it is grounding into like, okay, like what is it that I'm committed to? What is it that I'm working on? Like, what is the value systems here? And it's like, get that frequency dialed in, and then just like go do that thing, and don't worry about the outcome. Don't worry about how is it gonna go, or how do I do this or do that? Because it's like when you get in that right spiritual frequency and you have the angels backing you and you're just like, you're with it, that next step presents itself. And as I've been saying, it's not about it like being perfect. It's really more about, you know, how do we show up? We do the thing. We reward the effort, not the outcome. We give our spiritual self that high five. We practice self-acceptance and integration and learn about ourselves on a deeper spiritual level, like as we're weaving through this physical reality and accomplishing the things that are near and dear to our heart, and part of those values I keep mentioning. And that, you know, there's going to be messes, there's going to be spills, but, you know, that's just the reminder of Virgo, South Node of Virgo. It's like, there will be messes. There's messes all over the world. And so the challenge is to keep the mess in the mind from forming and carrying out too long. Because then before we know it, we're living in a lower dimensional reality that is actually where we hold our soul back from actually expanding and doing a lot of the awesome things. Now, towards the end of the week, we are going to see Jupiter in Cancer square over to Mercury in Libra. So I just want to put it out there. It's a quick square, but a lot of this week is also just when it comes to fact-finding, gathering evidence, weighing things out to make decisions. It's always going to be easier whenever we have a comfortable spot in our home where we feel like we can do the research and figure things out and gather the data and to not be frantic with it. So whatever that thing is that expands and allows yourself to see the bigger picture of life, that gives you comfort, whether it's like, meditation or yoga or, just something that's not overwhelming or stimulation wise, and just like going into the understanding that it's like, all right, well, if I can allow myself to relax, if I can get into a place where I feel like my needs are being met and the self-care aspect, because part of what Jupiter in Cancer teaches is just like, if it gets to be too much, just like go back to like the very basics of like, what are your needs? What are your needs in your private life to just like feel good? And then when that square comes along, in order to like actually execute, communicate the decisions that are being made, it's easier to like have the clarity mentally and intuitively make those decisions when we're in more of a relaxed state. So pull a card for this week. As I said, if you want to get an astrology reading, just hit me up for that link, and same thing for the Higher Self Rising group coaching. But again, fallout week, because a lot of times transits, like, they peak and then we see the manifestation on the other side. You take like COVID, for example. It's like that astrology event was Saturn-Pluto meeting on January 12th of 2020, but that was, it started off in China, but then we really didn't feel it here until almost the spring, almost the equinox in March of 2020. So sometimes things take time to bubble over, but honestly, these are transits to use for liberated thinking, to like get us out of jail of our minds, like to not like fall like victim to like repetitive thinking stuff that like keeps us like in a victim mentality. I think we all have to realize there is a crazy awesome level of empowerment that we have, but it's where we get unbalanced or feel unhinged or not in alignment that, these things don't feel good. And so obviously we got to keep things smooth in the relationships. And a good way to see it is the understanding that there's always things happening on quantum, energetic, spiritual levels with relationships, with people's situations, and to not like assume the worst or assume that we know it all. Like that, the interesting thing, it's like the relating to people that Sun in Libra brings up, is like we have to be a peacemaker. We have to be at peace and like keep the peace. And like if things like start to escalate, like we find a way to de-escalate it with this astrology, more with presence, with a regulated central nervous system, by keeping that like upbeat attitude, but that like is still like rooted in paying attention. Like, am I making good decisions? And those good decisions are going to be, am I staying the same, or am I putting in some effort spiritually for my life to evolve? Because it does start on the spiritual level. Like we can really open up to receiving a lot of magic during this time. The magic of our intuition, the magic of gifts. Like we really can become a kind of spiritual hero that doesn't have to grind and like do all the crazy things to try to hold a reality together that we know is not good anyway. And that's, it's the day-to-day life, the work routines, like the systems of things. The system is the soul. It feels inspired. And so, paying attention to the health front. It's like, if you need rest, it's like, go rest. It's North Node of Pisces. Take a fucking nap. Like, go get a few extra hours of sleep. You have full permission to do that. That South Node in Virgo tries to seduce people into burning the candle at both ends, and it's retarded because, we can't actually like even make room for understanding what's even pure as a soul, to understand what we even want to like be working on if we're always just like grinding. And so it's like when we actually take that time to reflect and do that meditation, do that nap, read that book, like whatever it is that feels like that more enchanting energy. And that can seem like that's not on most people's radar, because it's like, no, I gotta like figure this out. I gotta do the puzzle. I gotta like fix things. I need this, I need that. And it's like, well, I can tell you that the stuff shows up easier, that the solutions show up easier, like when we're connected spiritually, when we elevate our thinking, when we allow our intuitive soul side to guide us versus trying to do all the stuff. And so I think, I'm gonna say it, it's like, for the next 6 months, be really honest, like for the efforts that you're putting in, like, are you getting like the returns spiritually, like, or does it feel like the diminishing returns? Because that's a really good way to be like, yeah, this isn't actually like working. So, and who knows, that might even be these horoscopes at some point. People gotta let me know and give me feedback if you're enjoying these. Because I never know where they land. It's interesting. It's a lot of times whenever, because it's very Pisces, right? Very North Node Pisces. It's like where God comes through at the last second. 12th house, Pisces, Neptune stuff. It's always like whenever it seems like you're lost at sea and the mast is broken and the wind's not blowing and you're just like floating there, lost. And that's where like those miracles happen, those Pisces miracles. And so like the minor ones I've seen, it's like, because it is very Pisces, it's like, oh man, like I'm going to end this thing or quit this thing or it's over. And then it's like, that's when the person pops up and like, hey, your work really inspires me or whatever. And it's like, oh, okay, thanks God. Thank you for that reminder. But then it also happens in the material world though too, which is the understanding of the Virgo Pisces axis, where it's like, as a soul, it's like, it's okay to feel lost and have to surrender, but to not give up faith fully, because there is that faith surrender piece that it's all going to like work out, that we're going to get some type of gift, because it is Jupiter, traditional ruler of Pisces. Bless me. And so, and I mean, with a lot of this astrology, it could be that message in a bottle. It could be that thing. And it's like, yeah, we still got to like take action. We got to show up. We got to do the things that are really outlined in our reality that we've been outlining as a soul, that, the things that got swept away from the eclipses, let them go. Don't worry about it. Grieve, do what you got to do. But then whatever is left, especially the stuff that we've already been like working on, or that like we've been putting enchantment into, like we can, like dreams like can come true during this time. It's just, can you be patient? Like, can you like wait as long as you need to? And that's a really good way to kind of get the mind on board too, in terms of like what's inspiring. Is like, can you be okay with waiting as long as it takes for it to mature? Because your soul just knows, like, yeah, I am doing the thing that inspires me. Because anything less than that, if it's coming from a place of fear or loss, or, worried about the surviving, holding it together, like piece of things, well, that takes the vibe down. And then that just is closer to more where the status quo reality is at. And so the heroes are the ones that know how to like find that inspiration and tout that, but then at the same time can't get away from the human piece and just like being like, yeah, like here's my cuts, here's my bruises, here's my symptoms, but not like dwelling in it like a victim and like being like, please help me. It's more so just like owning the scar, like owning the scratch, owning the bruise, and then going, well, we just hold ourselves back if we start dwelling on like the negative stuff that's already either happened or that we're trying to like fix. And so the mind can have a heyday during this time and like look for all these like things to try to like figure out and problems to solve, and that's what the mind tends to do. That's just the understanding of Mercury, but it is Mercury in Libra and Sun in Libra. And so the alignment piece is like, yeah, just what's on the table? What's right in front of you? Like, what is the thing that you can just relax and be at peace because you don't have to go chasing a sunset? It's like, if you want to see a sunset, you just have to like find a spot and see it. It's not far away. You don't have to chase the sunset, right? The sun sets in Libra. It sets in the equinox, right? Like we're in North, most of us like watch, most of you watching is like North America, and the sun goes down and the days get shorter. And so whatever is just like right there. And there is like a subtle sense and artistic value to Libra too. But then if you compare it with that grand trine on like the spiritual level, it's like you can really supercharge some really amazing things. And so there's a lot of inspiration, but it can turn sour really quick. It can turn sour and get debilitating physically, mentally. Life can seem like black and white. And so we have to find that spiritual connection and that inspiration of like, what are the talents, abilities? What is it, something that can be created, like accessing the higher field of consciousness of being a pioneer. And like, that's where the vivid colors come through. So, and final words, and I'll pull this card, but it's like Pisces is about finding the connection spiritually, the soul within. It's like where we go out into space and we're like looking out there and we're looking for our star family and our guides and our angels, and we're looking for the inspiration, but like we tune into the frequency of it, kind of like through the crown chakra, which is like very Neptune, but Neptune's in Aries. And so it's like we have to kind of bring it into this like primal action step kind of like way that doesn't like hesitate or like balk or doubt and be like, wait, was that real? Was that intuitive hit real? It's like, yeah, motherfucker, of course it's real. It's like, but we nurture ourselves to the point of like where we're the system of the body, it's not going to be operating perfect, but it's kind of like how to just like flow with like the timing of things for the intuition and the body to sort of connect and that intuitive action taking steps. So, but we're about to go through a reset. And when I say reset, I'm not predicting anything like physically in the world. I'm just saying energetically, because here within about a week, see Neptune come back into Aries, Uranus will come back into Gemini in November. So time's ticking in terms of like, it's not about force or overdoing it. It's like definitely not that. It's more so like, do you know where your attention is going? Like, do you know how to like connect with your soul as like a higher vibration and to like lift the self up and see that like that is the work. Things will fall out of alignment. It happens. That's the South Node too in Virgo. We're going to feel human. We're going to feel imperfect. We're going to feel all the imperfections, especially with Venus there. But dwelling on it and saying like life's broken, something's not working, it doesn't work. And I still continue to say the most practical way to embody the spiritual self is like, well, just trust the faculties of anything that you've learned about yourself to this point, self-development wise, and not searching for like the next like thing. reminds me of like Thanos, like searching for like a fucking Infinity Stone and like just like finding pebbles. It's like there's really nothing else to find in terms of like empowering or like some like tool. It's really just those that have the gall to kind of just like go do it and figure it out and put it out there and still be soft and sensitive with like how we're feeling internally about it, and you know, having empathy for others, but then kind of like being like, well, okay, as long as I'm following God's marching orders of like what feels internally aligned, and the intention was not to hurt someone, then you're in the clear, because like things can always be rehashed and figured out later on. Like that's just how we learn on this planet. Like if we don't do it, if we don't try it, we don't learn anything. So we're all learning a lot as a collective right now. And for those of you that understand this calling to like bridge the gap between the reality and the inspired spiritual side and the boundless nature of what it is that we can do, that pioneers like Hall just like show up, make George Washington proud, make Ben Franklin proud, like make the forefathers, foremothers proud, like all the ancestors that came before and ancient civilizations, and just kind of like there's a part of us that's kind of gotta like act like we've done this before, and kind of like find that center, find that balance point, that middle ground, baby, and just show up and try the things and run the things. Like you know, it's like in the history, it's always like, wow, they did this and they figured this out, but it's like they skip the part where it's like their fears, their uncertainties, their doubts. Like it, I think we make it like think that like, oh, that person was bulletproof, like they had it sewed together, or they like, you know, were such a, you know, pioneer, inventor, like whatever. And it's like, well, we don't know that unless like we got like access to like their diary, and even then would they put that in their diary? And so I think most people are not, that are going to be successful right now, are not going to like be dwelling on the mental psychology of like the thoughts and the thinking and the why this, why that, how do I figure this out, like how, and just kind of go like, well, like let me just remember what it is that's inspired me to do the things in the first place, and then go do the things, go try it, see what happens. Liberation. Pick up the phone, send the email. And then when it comes to like how to like even like get inspired, if you're not feeling inspired and like you're feeling that like South Node and Virgo contracted energy, that's probably where you need to like do some energetic hygiene. Reach out to me for help with like breathwork, hypnosis, shamanic energy clearing, like, or you're a practitioner, like do your own practices, like do something that goes like, no, like I'm not gonna stay like human, just like not feeling like connected or inspired. So we have to keep the vibe up. We have to keep the auric field clean and high vibe, because it's not even like an attitude or way of feeling good. It's like a prerequisite just to kind of just even like surviving like in this planet right now, to like not get like pulled down into like the collective, what the fuck is going on here. And it's like, I can tell you what's going on. It's just the astrology, but like you're kind of like abusing it and misusing it, because you're thinking that you need the reality to go back to the Truman Show and pre-2019 too, and you still haven't accepted that like that shit's all dead, and that like the biggest wake-up calls have been happening since 2020, and that the, you know, you could say the wake-up call is, oh, look at what they're doing in the world, but it's like, what are we doing as individuals, like with our shadow side, and like where do we dwell in our secrecy and our patterns and our weird shit? You know, the North Node in Pisces is saying, yeah, there's no space for that. Saturn's saying, there's no space for that. Slips happen. I'm not being perfect, like I'm saying, but you know, the, the it takes longer to heal. The body, the mind, it will take longer to heal the more we just keep repeating the same stressful bullshit that's stale and expired. It'd be like fucking eating rations from the bunker that was never used in the fallout shelter and being like, well, it's here, I don't have to go to the store and it's good. Oh, it expired 3 years ago, whatever. And then trying to say it's good. It's like, go find a way to create the T-bone steak, the filet. It's like, we can do this. Anyone can make shit happen during this time. It's just that the South Node in Virgo is like, reminds people like, you can't be spoon-fed by a system, and even if the system's still held together by some old crusty glue, like it's not going to be soul nourishing. It just won't. I promised a card, I feel like 45 minutes ago. I'm a talker. Uranus, change. So Uranus is being aspected in a lot of ways. It's the grand air trine, Sun in Libra, Pluto retrograde in Aquarius to that Uranus retrograde in Gemini. And we're still seeing the sextile technically from Neptune and Aries to that Uranus and also up to Pluto. So change is in the air. It's in our thinking. It's in Gemini. It's like, yes, it's retrograde, but it's kind of like, what is it? What are the things that we just really need to change within, like with our thinking? I think there's a lot of like Eckhart Tolle energy present where it's like, yeah, be the watcher of the thinker, and the whole, like he used to say, like, it's very South Node Virgo, like he wasn't trying to be funny, but it was like, this is what the pain body sounds like. I don't like it here. I don't like these circumstances. Like, this present moment sucks, you know, like very South Node Virgo. And so I think there's a piece too, just even like getting back to the basics in terms of like energetic hygiene and keeping the vibe high. It's like, change the thoughts, not even to like make it like something like real or tangible, but just like, even just like changing the thoughts, just to even be like, no, I'm not gonna like go down that familiar weird space. I'm not gonna go sucked into that societal debate. I'm not going to get sucked into that conversation. I'm not going to go, you know, it reminds me of like people like volunteering for jury duty, you know, like, oh, I'll go join the jury and weigh it out, like about this social issue or this political issue or this media issue or this environmental issue or whatever. And it's like, unless that's your wheelhouse and you've already been studying that, you're already knowledgeable about it, you're kind of being a fucktard. I'm sorry, but like, unless that is like what you like, it's like you have a job there in it, or like you've been living it and breathing it. Like, I don't say this often, it's like, let the experts handle it, and like spend more time learning about how your mind operates and what you're doing in your inner world and how your intuition works, because then as you do that and grow and instead of letting the shadow fester of just like the weird shit and like the shadow work that comes from that introspective like work, then you'll be able to spot the bullshit. The more that you spot the bullshit within, the shadow within, the more that you can spot it out there. Just, you know, very basics of what, like it's mostly a Scorpio thing, but like there is a Pisces thing like though too, because you lift the vibration by having love and compassion for the light, the shadow, but like you make a subconscious choice to choose the light, and you emanate that light and you go out and inspire, then like you see like where the darkness is at, and the darkness is just like where truth tries to get suppressed, where it's like there's still lies, there's still secrets happening, there's still misinformation and not facts, but then people want to stay in the same modus operandi to figure that out, to try to like feel like a sense of like belonging or intelligence or like a role to play, because it can feel really hard to not know what your fucking role is in this world if you don't feel inspired, if you're not connected spiritually, if you haven't like done the spiritual work and the shadow work, then you're just kind of in the grandstands, like watching the car wrecks. So, and even like doing that, it's even just like not, like if you feel stuck or lost and like what to do next in life, it's like don't go into like the world stupid shit because you're bored, right? Like I think there's something to say too about like we get bored if there's not change as humans, but like be the one that sparks and inspires like change in your own life, of change in behavior, change in mindset, like go like work on some cool shit. And like when you go and do that, you just naturally, gradually like change over time. Like it's not like oh, I just did the one big thing, you know, or like, you know, took the long weekend, or I did this for myself, for my self-care, and like I'm, you know, it's like it's like Jupiter. I'm like expanded now. I like know all this stuff, and it's like, well, like there's a lot there. Like maybe like bring that into your foundation in your personal life like fully. So maybe I'm talking shit here, but I think sometimes people need that masculine like wake up call, or like remind everyone that during this time we're not here to play small, but like the old version of like playing big is different now. It's more like how to just be a good human being that doesn't get sucked into the bullshit, and then inspires and like glows and shows people like a different way. Like you have a different freedom of speech, you have a different narrative, but it's also because like you get it, you understand it, like you're living it. This is a time for people to what would happen if people stopped talking about all the same stuff and then everyone just started sharing their own unique insight of how they see the world? I think that people, a lot of the problems that we create with the mental narratives would stop, and then people's own unique perspectives that actually aren't connected to some like stupid fucking world narrative shit would actually like lead to solution, innovation, futuristic thinking of like that. And then where's my place in the world, and like how can I position myself to help solve that? So the thinking turns not from how do we fix this piece of shit that's not working, it turns to how do we go from where we're at and accept the circumstances that they are and just improve it and innovate it. So, and I've been saying this for years, but it's the train wreck. You keep watching the politics, you keep watching the new, like you do all this shit, it's pulling you from your spiritual mission. I'm sorry. But unless you're on the ground floor of that stuff, and that is actually your mission, your occupation, your job, if you're putting your voice like into the thing, just because that's what everyone else is doing, you're lost and you're not connected to your spiritual mission. And that's sad, because we've been having every opportunity since 2020 to figure out what that is. You know, and there's not a single person on planet Earth that just doesn't have something to figure out, like even being connected to their spiritual mission. But it's kind of just like at some point, once you've been like done the shadow work and scorched by the fire, it's like the uncertainty, just the fears, it just doesn't scare you anymore. And so the selling point for people is, do you want to be freaking the fuck out here for this next year and a half, and especially in 2027 where it all goes kerplunk and that 400-year cycle ends that we've been in and a new one starts? Or do you want to be one of the change makers? And it's not going to be all feminine sunshine and rainbows and empathy and compassion. That is a part of it. Don't get me wrong. But there is a survival, take action, masculine part too. So it's part of the weird, odd beauty that we've been having of Chiron and Aries since 2019 through all this, is how to heal that wounded masculine energy that we all have so that we can initiate better and show up better, even if it's not the prettiest thing in the world. So appreciate y'all. See you next time.